Hello students, Mr. Van Diest here. This is going to be for chapter 9, and I'm going to be making these videos for Mrs. Smith's class, Mr. Jimenez class, and Mrs. Graff's class. Let's begin. Okay class, we are starting on page 441, chapter 9, Length in Metric Units. A wind farm is a group of wind turbines used to make electricity. One way to measure the distance between two wind turbines is by counting footsteps. What is another way? So we can count the distance between two of these wind turbines. If we use our feet and walk between them, we can count how many footsteps it takes to get between each one. And then we can measure by feet. What is another way that you can measure between each turbine? So go ahead and write an answer in the comment section below. What is one other way that you can measure between? Page 442. Show what you know. Compare lengths. Order the strings from shortest to longest. Write 1, 2, and 3. So number 1 is asking you to look at these 3 pieces of string, and you're going to order them from shortest to longest. 1 being the shortest, 3 being the longest. So go ahead and work on that now. Pause the video. Okay class, let's go over the answers. The very bottom string should be the smallest, which is 1. The very top should be the second, which is 2. And the one in the middle is the longest, which is 3. Use non-standard units to measure length. Use real objects and the red square to measure. So this red square is the cube. So if you guys remember from class, we used some cubes to measure, and these cubes are 1 inch in length. So use real objects and cubes or 1 inches to measure. So how long is this pencil? About how many of these red cubes do you think? So you can use a ruler to measure it, or you can use cubes to measure it, or you can follow along with me as we do it together. Number 3, put the cubes on the pen or the ruler and see how many cubes number 3 is. Pause the video and work on number 2 and 3. Alright class, let's go over it. Number 2 should be about 2 cubes. Well, at least that's what I got for mine. Some of you might have got 3. It really depends on what you were using. And for the pen, it should be the same, so maybe you got 2 or 3. Measure length twice, non-standard units. Use block first, then use a paper clip. So measure the length of the ribbon. Here's the ribbon that they gave us to measure. So measure the length using the cubes first. Remember, each cube is 1 inch in length, so you can use a ruler if you need to. And then you can use paper clip. So grab a normal size paper clip and put them together, make sure they're touching, and see how many paper clips you can put on this ribbon on your paper. And do that for the cubes for number 4, and do that for the paper clips for number 5. Pause the video. Alright class, let's go over the answers. So our answers may be different depending on what we use to measure. But this one here could be maybe 5 or 6. And the paper clip could be about 4 or 5. So really we're going to have different answers. We are now on page 443. Vocabulary Builder. Visualize it. Fill in the graphic organizer. Think of an object and write about how you can measure the length of that object. So what this is asking us to do is think of an object, maybe something we have near us, and we just need to write 1 sentence on the top box about how you can measure the object. So I'll give you guys an example. And we need to use these review words. If you guys remember, we did measuring, length, and estimating in class. And I'll go ahead and give you guys an example sentence. So something I can measure is my desk, and I can use a ruler to measure the desk to see how long it is. So I would write, I can measure the length of my desk with a ruler. So that's one example you can use. So see if you can find an object around the room and write about how you would measure the length of that object. Go ahead and write 2 sentences, one on the top box and one on the bottom box. Pause the video and work on that now. Okay, so let's go over another example you could have used. So here's another sentence you could have used. So I can make a cube train to measure the length of my desk in cubes. So you can also measure using the cubes like we did in the previous. You can also use paper clips to measure. So if you have a sentence that you want to share with the class, go ahead and write it in the comment section below. For understand vocabulary, use the color tiles to estimate the length of each straw. So here are the color tiles that they gave us. And remember this word estimate, it means educated guess. An educated guess means a guess that is very accurate, that has reason behind it. So you want to look at these cubes, and using these cubes, estimate the length of this straw. For number 1, how many of these cubes do you think it is? Number 2, looking at these cubes, how many of these cubes do you think will make up the length of this straw for number 2? So work on numbers 1 and 2 now. Pause the video. Alright class, let's go over the answers. For number 1, you should have gotten 5 tiles. So you can kind of eyeball where it starts and where it ends and then count the amount, and we get 5 total. For number 2, if we just kind of line it up with our eyes, we can see that there's about 2 cubes, or 2 tiles. Okay class, that concludes our introduction to chapter 9. In the next video, we will start working on chapter 9.1. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.